Dude, today,
that's
the
fun.
day that this podcast launches, it's going to be August 11th. I want everybody to obviously listen to the podcast, but right after that, let's go over to whatever it is, Ford's YouTube, Ford's website. They have supposedly something that they're calling their next or their new Model T moment. When it comes to EV technology for the brand, do you have any personal insight or any personal thoughts when a brand makes a statement like this?
That they usually don't deliver. I mean, I think we all understand that there's a personal sacrifice that we've all made in social media land, which is we know most of this stuff's not gonna really move the needle at all, but we're gonna go watch it, right? It's like that's what we are all gonna do. I'm gonna do it. You're gonna do it. Everybody listening is gonna do it. Or you're gonna see a clip come across Monday afternoon, 3 hours after the announcement. But I will say this. I will say that we've been asking, what is the next breakthrough? What is the next thing that brings EVs into this situation where we all can look at it and go, hey, what's going on? What is the next move? Because again, we see nothing but really doom and gloom of every EV announcement and then the performance of that after in the real world. So, I mean, I think we're all kind of waiting to go, hey, you guys are going to have to do something. But, hopefully Ford is right. But, I mean, aren't we all thinking the same thing? Like, this is not going to be the Model T moment. I mean, let's be fair.
You nailed it, because it's so much like we've been on the internet so long now, it feels like, which hasn't been that long in the grand scheme of things, but it feels like it, that when you hear things or you hear like, oh, this is coming, and then it comes and then you're like, that was a big letdown. Like, there's really nothing that has like shooken the world when it comes to these automotive announcements, other than maybe, hey, we're not getting rid of these engines after all. We're going to keep them around for longer. We're going to roll back on some of these EV initiatives. But at the same time, you have brands like Ford, or even we'll say Dodge, who are still trying to balance out, like, do we pull out? Do we just keep going? Do we just kind of like hum at a quieter pace, which I think you made a really good point about a couple of weeks back, where like, everybody shut your faces for a little bit. Let's just work in silence, and then we'll see.
Yeah, they don't have that. They don't have that anymore. They don't. I mean, nobody shuts up.
No.
Nobody shuts up. Like, Jim Farley has a podcast. Buddy, you have the most recalls in the history of the world. Maybe not spending money and time on the podcast would be a good moment right now. You know what I mean? It's like, I want to cheer Ford on. I want to cheer Chevy on. But it's like, you guys make it so hard to cheer you on. I mean, I like the CEO of Ford because he just says wild stuff. Like, from a content perspective, he's fantastic. Great. Yeah. But you're not building better stuff, bud. This is a very simple philosophy. If you build better stuff, you'll sell more in the long run.
I got a buddy.
You don't need a podcast, dude.
Dude,
you don't need a podcast.
But no, that's wrong. Everybody needs a podcast, Nick. We need more podcasts on the planet. Right? We don't have enough.
But here's the thing. I'll say what everybody's thinking here. I do hope it's something that's interesting, but we have an email where a guy asked an EV question this week, and I think he makes a good point. And let's answer his question now. He's like, do EVs need to be so fast? That's the basis of the email. He sees this old couple. They have a Lucid EV. The EV is extremely fast. Folks, without that, what are they selling? What else are you selling? Yeah. That's the answer to his question. EVs don't sell anything except for you don't have to go to the gas station. Okay, well, none of us really find that cumbersome in 2025, right? Like, it's not that cumbersome to pull into a gas station in Houston, in Miami, Florida. It's not that difficult, right? It's a very easy transaction. So other than that, they're not really selling anything directly to the consumer buying them. So what is the watershed moment that they're promoting here? I'm fascinated to see. But they also just had a massive recall on engines they've been building for 1,000 years. It's like, I don't know, bud. Like, you don't even have what you've been doing 100 years down. So, I mean, what are we talking about?
That leads into what I was going to say. I had a buddy that sent me a clip or an article about that, and he was like, yeah, this Ford, recall this, that, and the other. And then I sent him a screenshot of my car gurus, and I was like, I don't care. I'm going all in on these Mach 1s. So I've got like all the list of cars. And he goes, in a time where most people are going to be like, hey, I probably shouldn't buy a Ford, you're doubling down and saying, I can get this at a good deal. Like, goddamn right I am.
Yeah. But look, man, I like Ford. There's things, I mean, look, we talk about Raptors all the time. But this constant hype machine I do think most of us, not just in the car world, most of us consumers are tired of it. And actually, there's probably a lot of data showing that you're tired of it. For those people that research and hey, what's effective to talk to the consumer. But the car industry's so far behind on how things work that they think that hype still works. And it's like, dude, all that does is set you up for failure, really, because if you really have a ground shaking moment, whether it be an ICE engine or an EV or whatever it may be, we'll know it without you telling us that it's a ground shaking moment. Like we'll see it in the product that you're releasing. Like it's not rocket science.
Yeah, so in that same, to piggyback off the start of the show here, there's an article here from Car and Driver that Ford's new patent suggests its next EV pickup could be called a Ranchero. So I guess the
Ford Ranchero, there you go.
Dude, I mean, that nameplate does have some, it hits a certain chord with people, right? Wouldn't you agree?
Well, with the one person on this podcast that for sure does. I mean, I don't think I'm allowed to say it, but like, come on, big dog. Like, that was teed up for you. Don't put that on me.
Hey, come on. I'm like, what's Nick going to say about this?
I think it's a cool name, though.
Ford has filed a trademark name for Ranchero, which could be an indicator of a reported EV midsize pickup truck. So again, like I said earlier, you got these companies that are like, hey, engines are back, we're going in on ICE or whatever. And then also like, hey, we also got these special EV products or projects we can't really talk about, but it's going to be the biggest thing that's happened in 120 years. I don't know how to take it sometimes from these companies.
They have to thread a needle. So let's be fair to all these automakers globally. They have to thread a real needle here because the next administration may go roll all this back and you got to head towards the EV world again. They got to thread a needle. This has been the most unfair thing globally for all of these manufacturers for the past 10 to 15 years, which is the yo-yoing of all of these regulations, right? So most of the time, California is probably the most egregious with this, where they'll say, you're not going to be allowed to have an air conditioner on your house by 2030. And then obviously after that administration's out, it gets rolled back to never. And that's what they've done with the EV culture, right? We're not going to allow a gas engine in California and, after 2015. And it's like, no, it's 2025. We're good. And 2030 is. So I think we all need to be fair. We all need to have our jokes, but we need to be fair that I don't think they can dump EVs. Like that just can't happen because if the next administration puts the hammer down towards EVs, you got to be ready to go. So this is why I've always been in favor of, I think the smartest companies that figure out how to run two companies side by side, basically running an EV company beside their ICE company and do that effectively, they're going to actually come out of this ahead. But I don't think any of them globally can do that. It's a very hard thing to pull off.
No, and by the way, the only Rancheros that I'm familiar with are these gems of vehicles from the early 70s.
Dude, that guy is going around on trash day in your neighborhood looking for a washer and dryer, a dishwasher, trinkets.
Sure. Yep. We had a couple of those guys in town. We're like, hey, trash collectors essentially before trash collectors became a big thing. They'd come and just pick up anything, dude, anything.
I had this conversation. Do you have a bulk day where you can put bulk stuff out and your trash company comes out and picks it up?
Yes, but it's been limited to once a month, apparently.
Yeah. So ours is once a month too, but that never existed. The bulk pickup day was you put the stuff out and these guys came around and picked through and put it in. That was the way things used to be. And I actually made a comment to a neighbor recently who put a couple washer and dryers out, for bulk day. He's like, look, I called everybody, I wanted somebody to come pick it up. They're still in decent shape. And I go, you know what you just don't see anymore? You just don't see the Ford Ranchero guy coming there and picking up the washer, the dryer, the dishwasher. At least where I live, and I know most of you probably live, like that guy's kind of gone out of the ecosystem in a lot of places.
That's a very good point, dude. I never brought this up because we had launched the show officially December 1st. So as the weeks were going by in December, we already had shows out there, right? So on Christmas Eve, I was helping my dad clean up some land. It was a tract of land that we're kind of doing something with, or he's doing something with, and we had to get this dumpster. Kind of like when you do construction projects, like I don't know, it was like 50 yards
Yeah.
or whatever it was. It was a pretty big dumpster, and this is like 5-6 acres of stuff that we're just like putting in there. And in my mind, I'm like, didn't we have people that would just come pick this stuff up? Like we couldn't find anyone to
Yes.
come pick this stuff. Why am I doing this on Christmas Eve? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm just taking arrows on Christmas Eve with our first viral video. Like, let's just say we didn't have the best Christmas Eve. I mean, you and I,
Oh, dude, you're right. I just
2024.
put
So,
that together.
hey,
I just put that together.
hey, 2025 is got to be a better Christmas season for us. But you're exactly right. Like, you have all these junk removal companies. That was not necessary. Like, you had people that in your city, in your town, they were, hey, just put it out by the curb. And whenever you put it out there, I come around. And I mean, they almost had a schedule when I grew up. It was like you knew the trucks and that was big. Look, you want to talk about good use of a mini truck. We've been harping the mini truck. Hey, those mini trucks used to be the guys, hey, let's throw a couple things in the back. We're going to go. I didn't know it at the time, and many of you probably remember this, is like, that was real entrepreneurial, and what a business model. You just picked up everything for free.
Yep. Yep.
No cost of
Dude,
goods sold there, Rob.
I can't think of I can't think of better like a business to do early on because it still exists. Like you can go take that stuff, and this is what they would do, obviously, right? They'd go scrap it somewhere. They'd go make some money. But now,
Sure.
knowing what some of those kind of places are giving people or paying you for the scraps, it's not worth it. So I can see now as we're talking about it why these people don't do it anymore. Like the time, the fuel to go pick up the scraps, take it to the scrapyard or whatever, they're like, this shit's barely worth it. I'm not doing this anymore.
Well, I always liked the guys that picked up the electronics and the stuff, and I knew guys that ran like pawn shops that would refurbish the washer, the dryer, things like that. I mean, that was kind of like some things that they did. But you're exactly right. And look, that Fent hits different. So maybe they just don't have the energy anymore to come around and scrap metal. I don't know.
100%. You are so right about that. And people right now are laughing because they know exactly who in their area we're talking about. It's so funny. Listen, I got a phenomenon that I want to pick your brain about. So that's kind of the first story of the day. We're talking about Ford and their EV and the big, monumental moment. So let's watch it after this podcast on Monday morning when you guys, listen to it and tune in. But I'm seeing this phenomenon on YouTube, dude, where it seems like a ton of fast-growing creators, we'll call them, car creators, are going all in on working on, self-admittedly their own shitbox, they'll call it, right, or their own whatever kind of car.
I love it.
And I'm just seeing it across the board. I do too. And I sent you one video in particular of one guy in his Civic. There's a guy with his Integra. And those particular cars aren't really shitboxes, but they're just like regular cars. And the comment sections, I feel like, and please, shoot arrows at me on Instagram or wherever if you feel like maybe we're too much, patting ourselves on the back too much. But I didn't see this prior to 6 months ago. Like I really did not see it anywhere. Did you?
So I didn't see it either. And I'm seeing more, actually, like you're saying, growing creators, but I'm actually seeing very large creators. I mean, Hoovy came out and made a video about his, I think he has a Ferrari, 599, I think he has, with a manual swap, really nicely sorted. And he has a Bugatti, and he basically admitted that it's over. Like this supercar fad is over unless you're going to go over the top and do like this scripted, hey, I damaged the wheel on my Bugatti, which, by the way, guys, all this shit's scripted, okay? Especially at that level. I mean, this. I mean, some of the feuds that have come out of those top channels, it's all scripted. I have no problem with that, at all. It was never my thing, so it never affected me. It wasn't in my algorithm. But, I think everybody's starting to realize what we said long ago, what I've told everybody about hypercars and supercars. If you see them all the time, they're not special. They're just not special. I mean, that's just it. Just like I look out the window here and I'm going to see 3 Camrys and 2 Accords and 5 Equinox and 3 Mavericks or whatever. They're not special. They're just not special because we keep making content. And let's be clear, a lot of the content is just, look at my expensive car. Well, that's not interesting either. But then ask yourself, what interesting can really I'm not taking shots at what could you really do besides drive it? This is kind of the journalism talk we have. You're taking a car, 200 people globally are going to buy, and you're driving it around a track. I'm really glad you got that experience, man, but it's not interesting anymore. And by the way, it was never really that interesting if you got to be around the cars at all, like I did in my business, or you've had the chance to be around. It was never interesting, but now the world's catching up to, it's just not interesting.
Yeah, I've had a couple of people, and not in a malicious way, but that will send a DM somewhere along the lines of like, "What's y'all's issue with?" Which we bring up, Car and Driver Motor Show. We bring up these journalist articles. Their stories. Most of them are just news, stories that they have to kind of report anyway. But more of
Sure.
even the editorialized stuff. Like it's what's the problem with them, or what's the problem with? It's not that there's a problem with it. We're just saying, hey, it's like you just said, it's not as interesting. There's other ways to cover some of these topics. There's a little bit more of an honest way, even we could say, to cover these topics. So it's not that there's
and
a problem with it.
let's ask ourselves, so let's ask ourselves this question. When you think of journalism, the first thing we all think about is you're uncovering a story.
Right.
Right? You're uncovering a story. That's the basis of journalism. Yeah, you can cover the politician saying this or saying that, but you're supposed to uncover things in the government, in the car companies that's not so above board. Somebody walk me through the last time you've seen a groundbreaking story in the automotive journalistic business. Name it. Because I'll wait. Where have they covered the parts? Yeah, where did they cover the quote unquote parts shortage that's now gone on for 5+ years? Where did they cover maybe people slowing production to control the product on the dealership lots at the very worst time when everybody needed more cars? Where was the coverage, deep coverage now years later, of who were the individuals behind Cash for Clunkers and how much of a crooked, situation was that behind the scenes? I'm just naming things off the top of my head. Journalism is not driving a car and telling me how fast it is when I know it's a sports car. That's not journalism. So it's not I have a problem that stuff is being done. It's also you and I have people contacting us going, yeah, this has been going on inside this company for 10 years. Everyone knows it. Nobody writes about it. Okay. I mean, that's a problem. That's not journalism. Driving a car is not journalism. It's not. It's driving a car, and it's an opinion piece. And I love that it exists. There is no problem at all. It is calling to the carpet things that haven't happened, and also what we know you guys aren't in on. That's it. By the way, I hope everybody takes those trips. I don't see what the problem is putting it at the bottom of your Instagram post. Hey, took a first-class flight, had first-class meals. That was part of the deal. Got to drive on a closed track that I couldn't afford. I don't think that's that hard to do. We know Steph Curry is sponsored by Under Armour. They tell you he's got a contract with them. I'm not surprised when he's like, hey, wear Under Armour. They tell us that he's a sponsored athlete. I mean, that's how this goes.
Yeah, I think that the journalism part, again, like Nick was saying, it's more than just driving the car and reviewing it, which we love too. And going back to your point about it's not as interesting, and you're right. Before, when you saw less, so one, there was less cars on the actual road. Two, there was less content about those cars on the internet, which made it still more interesting. Now they're all over the road. Some, and then they're also all over the internet, so it's less interesting. When you talk about the journalism aspect of it, somebody that actually breaks some news, like we've had people, again, that, like Nick said, that contacts us they're working in the supply chain, or they're working on the docks, or they're working in they're engineers. They're talking about things that we kind of touch on the show, and it's like,
sure.
It's so interesting and mind-blowing. You don't see that in the quote-unquote automotive mainstream world. Nothing against them, but again, if you were to compare those two, us talking about an engineer in the business and then what we read on the internet, which one is more journalistic? And even then, we're not journalists. We're just talking about the story.
Yeah, and again, I would say this, and I think this is a really cool thing. That's why you guys are more into the normal guy in his garage, in his shop, goofing around with his Civic or his Acura or his LS 400 he just got a deal on, or whatever car, whatever truck. And I think that's a positive. I really do, because I know you guys aren't all driving. I know some of you are driving these awesome cars. Some of you listening reach out and go, hey, just got this 911, just got this Lamborghini. Awesome. I grew up aspiring to be around these cars, and I've been lucky enough to be around them.
Same.
So I don't want anybody to get it twisted. Like, it's still, I just rolled up on a new Urus The baby blue, I'll put it on so everybody can see on probably Instagram stories. And I go, it still excites me that this car exists.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm still like, man, that's still a Lamborghini. But the internet has burnt all of us out on the content around it. And so now it's really cool to see people admitting what we talked from the very, very beginning of this show was like, hey guys, we need to get back to busting balls. We need to get back to making jokes. We need to get back to making fun of each other's cars, even though we like your car. You know, when I call the Porsche guy the Euro Corvette guy, I still love Porsche.
Of course.
I still love Porsche as a brand, but we're supposed to make jokes. All of us, you listening, are supposed to bust your buddy's balls when he brags about the stitching on his Porsche. You're supposed to bust his balls. Like, you're supposed to bust my balls that I like an LX470 from 2003. You're supposed to do those things. And I think any more normalcy back to this, we're all going to have a better time, man. We're all going to have a better time.
Yeah, if I could get anything across after 8 months of this show is everybody's got to stop, not people listening necessarily, but maybe some of you, being so bent out of shape about everything you see on the internet. I mean, whether you're talking about
Rob's really trying to fix the world here on a Monday morning.
Some of the stuff we'll get personally, like in our DMs, in our comments, and then other comments that I'll see, like, this is just so random, but somebody sent it to me. Doug DeMuro was doing something or he said something about Koenigsegg's. And the first comment I see is this guy, I've got 4 Koenigsegg's. You're so wrong about what you just said. Bro, relax. One, okay, you're flexing. You got 4 Koenigsegg's, if you even do. He called them eggs. Do they really call them eggs? I don't know. He's like, I got 4 eggs. Cool. I don't know. I couldn't really tell. The picture was him driving a Koenigsegg, so maybe he's got them. Either way, it's like, bro, you are so bad. It's exhausting. People that get bent out of shape about some of the stuff that we talk about.
And so Doug, probably one of the few people that has a Rolodex of the cars he's driven that he can compare to what he would rather buy in that sphere. And especially has a hell of a collection of cars himself that we would all say is pretty damn nice. I think you look at it, you go, relax, dude, relax. By the way, if you love the car, the theme of Clutch Culture is whatever you love, go buy it. But I'm allowed to make a joke. I'm allowed to have an opinion, just like you are about the stuff that I have. Yeah, and guess what? That's what this is all about. Like, I don't know if how many guys were going to. So before Cars and Coffee was a big thing, you just had car shows. You just had annual car shows. Euro car show, muscle, hot rod car show. I mean, I know they're still around, but Cars and Coffee is more of like a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly thing now in so many places. Man, when you went to a car show, whether you were into those cars or not, you respected the work and you busted the balls of the guy standing there and going, hey, why'd you choose this? And you didn't even know each other. Like, you just had fun, whether it was sipping a coffee, having a beer because the show was more at night. Like, this is what all of us listening did. And we all have to take a deep breath. And this is the cool thing. For all you creators creating the car content that you want to create with the normal car that you love, I think this is the next decade plus of car content because you guys aren't going to go back. None of us are going to go back and go, let's see more hypercar content. It's not really going to come back because there is nothing coming. There is nothing a hypercar, a supercar is now a supercar, is now a hypercar. They all have the same framework of maybe, let's say Maserati's smart and goes, hey, the only way for us to stand out is to bring more manuals back. That's the only time these cars, these exotics are going to get any love is who's going to be the ones to start bringing manuals back to these cars. Because everything else is pretty uninteresting. I mean, let's just be fair about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, growing up, what was the spot? Do you remember? Because for me, there's a restaurant, or there was, called Otto's Barbecue in Houston. There was like 2 or 3 of them, and at one of them, on the outskirts of Houston, there was every Friday, bro. Every Friday, hey, you going to Otto's? Hey, you going to Otto's? It was a car show every Friday. It was a barbecue joint. You had a bunch of classics, newer cars, whatever. And it ended up closing around like the middle of the COVID, all the flu years, unfortunately. But dude, that was like from the time I was like 16 to like 25. Like, Otto's was the thing. Did you have something like that growing up?
We did a lot of field, where I grew up. Okay. It was like, hey, go to this field. Okay. Yeah. That was it. But look, since I've been in Vegas and Southern California, the thing is that there's always been, a monthly event that this guy ran. Maybe he was a dealer, an independent dealer, and then they're always at this, bagel spot or this parking lot that has, 10, 15 businesses in it. That's kind of the culture out here. And they've been running for a long time. They do a good job. It's not weekly. It's usually monthly, is what has taken place out here. But there's guys, and I want to celebrate anybody that's running these events, because it's not easy to deal with. I mean, you got to deal with the businesses. You got to deal with, guys not acting right, guys doing burnouts. I mean, we've all seen the stuff either locally or on the internet. So what I think it is a lot of these things have become stuffy. I think all of our listeners will know a car show in their brain, or Cars and Coffee, and they're like, man, that's kind of stuffy. But the more that car content on the internet gets normal, and like how guys actually talk to one another, you're going to see that in your local car community, is people are going to free up and start talking like we all know we talk. If we sit in our garage with 4 of our buddies, but then we go to a car show that's stuffy, we talk differently. But if the car show's not stuffy, we all talk how we talk in the garage, or we're just hanging out with one another, or the way we bullshit on a text or over the phone. So I'm looking forward, and to get back to your point, keep making the normal car content, guys. For you young guys, older guys, I love mechanics that are great at making content of what they're working on. It's one of my favorite things in car content. These guys put on, whether it's Meta glasses or a GoPro, and they're like, hey, look, this guy hasn't changed his oil in 25,000 miles. I just came across last night. Guys like, this Honda Civic's got 25,000 miles on it, and we got severe problems. And he like shows you all the lights on the dash, and then he starts digging through the oil. He goes, I don't know if I can save this thing. It's like, that stuff, that's normal life, man. And he's making a joke, and that's how he talks. And so I think all of that stuff we need to root on for you guys. Go subscribe to people you see who are interesting, but they're also doing very normal car content, because that's going to also flip good car creators to more normal car content. Now, don't forget, the big car content creators are going to follow whatever it is. And so I think that's great. It's great that you brought it up, because I think it's awesome that's happening.
I agree, man. So 2 things. You mentioned a Civic, and we were talking about trash removal people earlier. Right before we hopped on, I just happened to come across a short where there was a guy that was taking a 1991 Honda Civic hatchback to a junker to be crushed, essentially. It still ran. He bought it for like $700 forever ago. He had 399,000 miles on it, but he didn't want to pay for the insurance anymore, didn't want to pay for the tags anymore. So he just took it to get crushed. And I was like, oh, wow, like that'll go another 399,000 miles.
Hey, let's for all of you listening who might be in that situation, that is not the move. That is not the move. Put it on Facebook Marketplace for $500 or $700, whatever you paid. Let somebody come pick it up, and just call it a day. Okay? Don't take it to the car crusher. Look, there's plenty of cars that need to be crushed. Plenty.
Yes.
Okay? Plenty of cars that need to be crushed. It's over. You've done what you could do. Old girl, it's time. It's your time. We're going to put you out the pasture. Let's go to the junkyard. That's not one of those cars. If it's running, if it's still in relatively good shape. Now, back then, let's hope it's not rusted all the way through. If that's not the case, it's like, hey, just put it on Marketplace for $500. Let somebody come get it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, on to a car that most people won't get to drive, but you actually have been doing some work on the Hyperclean Store YouTube channel. So if you guys want to go over there, you'll see Nick working on one of these, but it's a Jeep 392. So a lot of people heard 392s will be going away. Dodge won't be doing, or, Stellantis is doing away with the V8s. All exaggerated. I think we talked about this months and months ago, but essentially it is not going anywhere. It was greatly exaggerated. So we can expect more of these 392 Jeeps.
Well, you know why? Your boy Kaniskus is head of product now for Stellantis North America. He's like, yeah, we're not getting rid of that. I mean, this guy will put a 392 in a Dodge minivan. Yeah,
he knows what's up.
You knew this wasn't going away. Like once they announced him as head of product, it was like this is staying. Well, look, I mean, if people want to go listen to a very, very well, modified 392 Jeep, we got the noises that come out of that thing. It's still a Jeep. You got to be realistic about the ride and this, but I'll tell you that extra added power makes a Jeep a lot more enjoyable. And that's what's been missing out of that platform. So if everybody thinks about pre-Bronco, and I've owned a lot of, a few Wranglers in my life, not a lot, but a few Wranglers in my life. And it was a place I have been as an enthusiast. It was something I really loved. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world when I was 16. It always needed more power. And it showed you how kind of incompetent Jeep has been over the years, that they just didn't find a way to keep increasing the power in a way that made it a more enjoyable drive. Now, did they need to put a 392 in it? No, but they were always underpowered, and we always knew that they needed more power. The 392 is sort of like, well, thank God they made it. Like, thank God we finally got here. This is about 25 years late, but they got there, right? So I think it's a fantastic experience for what it is, right? I mean, you're still, we call it the vertical windshield, driving experience. It's not the most enjoyable to drive on the freeway, but it's a lot more enjoyable with that power. And that was driven from Southern California, San Diego, to here. And the guy that drove it goes, pretty enjoyable. It's pretty, I had to drive a long way, but yeah. And it's enjoyable because they have the right amount of power that makes the freeway not such an issue, and all of these kind of things. And I think you Jeep people that are out there, you would admit that Wrangler just didn't power these up enough throughout generations to make it a more comfortable freeway driver. And that's where it's driven the most. Freeways, streets, those kinds of things. But look, if you want to hear a real badass performance exhaust on a 392, you can go listen to it on HyperClean Store.
There was somebody in the comments, I don't remember what video it was, but they were just going on and on about I think it was a Gladiator and the Pentastar that's in it and how reliable it is and how
Jesus
it's like
Christ.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, so, we're talking about $20,000 pickups, $25,000 pickups. I get it, man. You Jeep Gladiator guys, I mean, you have an argument. Yeah, you can pick those up, bare bones and a manual probably, and they're 25 grand. Let's all say it together. It's ugly. Most people don't like it. Most people aren't going to buy it. There's a complete reliability aura about Jeep and the Stellantis brands. Very well earned, by the way. It isn't like that came out of nowhere, because magically when you build reliable cars, people find out they're reliable. And when you're building unreliable cars, everyone talks and says, I've had all these problems with my Jeep, all these problems with my Dodge, all these problems with whatever brand, not just those brands. That's what it is. You wear those badges for a reason. Toyota and Honda wear their badges of reliability for a reason. So I understand that you may have a car and it's been fine, but we can point to a lot of people have problems with them. And look, even even though that commenter or somebody saying that is right, how many of you listening to this are buying a Gladiator? Just out of pure looks, you're not going to buy it. Okay, we've talked about that before. We're all looks first, and then everything else second. I don't like how a Gladiator looks, so I'm not going to buy it, even if it is 25 grand. In this guy's point, he has a point, but he's missing the overall point that they don't sell because people don't like them. So what are you going to do, man? It is what it is.
I just thought it was so funny because that was one of those examples of somebody getting really bent out of shape because they didn't like somebody's opinion on the price or the look or the features that you get for the price. So everybody relax a little bit, all right?
That's what you're going to title this. We're asking everybody to relax on the internet. One man crusade. Rob is trying to get people to relax on the internet.
That's hilarious. Look, we're gonna segue here to some more EV talk since we've been talking about 392s. A mid-compact EV truck, the 2027 Rivian R2T, is ready to scratch that itch. What's your experience? We've talked about Rivians kind of here and there and how they're really great quality. They seem to lose a lot of money because of how well they're built and what they sell them for. Any opinions on the R2T and these little trucks in general?
It's a great move for them. Rivian has to answer the same question. I mean, when Rivian first came out, you were buying a $125,000 quality vehicle for 70 grand. I mean, It was a hell of a deal early on. I'm not deep in the Rivian market at this point in time, but Rivian, Rivian feels like it has staying power because they really have solved a lot of problems up front, right? The design is good. They look good when you drive next to them, I think anyway. I'm not saying I love every design feature. The interiors are high quality. They seem to have reasonable customer service from everybody. I've only had a few owners that I've dealt with, but, they have any kind of issue, Rivian is on top of it from what these people have experienced. Maybe somebody will say something different, but Rivian builds a high-quality vehicle, and they need to keep adding to their lineup. But I think one of the smart things Rivian has done is they're not doing anything super quickly, right? Like, hey, this is what we have. We're going to try to do this well. Then we're going to move on to this, and we're going to try to do that well. So now if they can – Rivian has the same problem every expensive EV company has. They're going to have to move down in size to start getting the $50,000 market, the $40,000 market, the $20,000 market, because that's what people value EVs at, right? The vast majority of us don't value an EV purchase at $98,000. That value proposition doesn't speak to us, but a $40,000 might. And so they're going to have to keep working down to try to get some more of these people interested in Rivian. But ultimately, I kind of like what Rivian has done. I mean, look, they're not profitable. I mean, they're in the same boat as everyone else. It's just a matter of who's going to be able to hang on here.
Yeah, I think they're talking about 50K is where this one's going to start. What's the sweet spot, you think, for most of these manufacturers?
30 to 50. Yeah. I mean, 30 to 50 is going to be the EV sweet spot. Look, the first company that comes out with the $20,000 EV that's really nice, obviously we know they're going to win. I mean, the cheaper you go, the more people you're going to bring into your brand. I mean, look, that's the Kia and Hyundai, model. It's like, hey, we're not going to build the best quality vehicle, but we're going to make the price hopefully stay in such a price point that you're going to just buy it out of necessity. And I think Rivian could be that. I think any EV company could be. And Model 3 proves that. Look at how many Model 3s get sold. I mean, Tesla deserves a ton of credit. Here's a Model 3. It's $30,000, $35,000, and they sell a zillion of them. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Hey, before we get into some listener questions, we should go ahead and tease the fact that probably within, I would say, a week from today, a week from this episode dropping, there's going to be a video or we're going to start the series or either make it a full video of your LX getting the audio system refurbished, right? Do you want to tease anything about that video before we actually publish it? Like, what can people expect your commentary to be? You're living with the, with the new audio for a couple of weeks. Anything you want to tease and leave as a cliffhanger?
When you have things done correctly by professionals that know what they're doing and specialize in something, it's an absolute joy to live with. Like these guys, we hit every wire, we hit everything. They put everything under the carpet or through the frame or whatever, or attached to the frame when we ran the backup camera. I think what people, and this is maybe just a select percentage of you out there, I get a lot of joy of saying this is pretty damn seamless for what it is. Like I put my car in reverse, there's a backup camera, and I don't see any wires, and I don't see any, it's just like it was always there, and again, I know we all can do that and we can add a backup camera, but I've seen a lot of it done wrong. I've seen a lot. Look, I have a BMW M6 story where BMW just forgot to put the backup camera on the car, like upon delivery. They're like, oh, yeah, we must have just forgot. Oh, yeah, we must have just forgot. I'm like, well, can you guys, come bring one? Yeah, we don't really know how to do that after the fact. That's a true story. I mean, that car still to this day, my customer still doesn't have a backup camera on it. That's a fact.
That's insane.
Nuts. Happens all. And by the way, for all those people that go, that stuff never happens. Just because it hasn't happened to you, it happens. Okay. So the seamlessness of how this feels like it should be there, and it's not out of place. It doesn't feel out of place. It doesn't, feel like, oh my God, I got all this aftermarket stuff. It feels really, really luxurious with everything still feeling like an LX from 2003, which is the best part of all of it.
Yeah, I will say, as myself and my assistant were kind of going through a lot of the footage, putting this together for Nick, it's remarkable how it does look like it was just there. Like everything's hidden, everything was done really well, and it's going to be in phases from from the lift gate, where the sub is, to the doors, to the CarPlay, but everything that went in there. I mean, this was a ton of footage that's going to be condensed down. Nick will most likely be doing voiceover throughout the whole video, kind of walking you through a lot of the stuff and his experience there. But the finished product does look like it was there from the start. And also the amount of work that did go into it. Like people won't get to see all of it, but they're going to see a ton of the wiring under the seats, under the carpet, through the bag to get the camera under the car, the whole thing. Bravo to those people, man. Like they're going to have a huge shout out throughout the whole video, so you guys can know exactly where Nick got it done. But if anybody wants to do it, it's hard to argue that you don't go to that place to get it done.
Yeah, and I always, when I talk to the owner who's been in the business 41 years, he goes, anybody could do this. They just wouldn't actually be able to do it to this level, right? Like it all sounds great that we all want to work on our car, and I would have loved to feel comfortable enough that I could have done this, and I could have done a lot of it, but all of the little finishing touches that they provide, I wouldn't have known to do some of the things because I'm not a professional at that. Right? Like you see this a lot of times when people add aftermarket head units and they just stuff the cords somewhere and then they have a malfunction and they're like, what the hell? I don't know why this thing's having a malfunction. Well, dude, you stuff the cords. Like, I mean, these guys zip tied everything, even if you don't see them. They zip tied and tied everything up because they didn't want anything to malfunction and they wanted to keep it tucked away and they wanted to make sure it fit comfortably and it wasn't pressing on other things. Any of us can do this stuff. I think there's it's sort of like a DIY home project. I mean, yeah, you can hang cabinets, but that guy, when he hangs cabinets, might have a better finishing look than you and I might have. We can get the cabinets on the wall. It's all the finishing touches that I think is pretty cool about this project.
No, absolutely. And it's funny because I remember growing up doing, having a buddy or whatever do the car audio, and they would use like monster gauged wire that doesn't need to be in that place. So like the side paneling's coming off and it's coming off the trim. Yep. It's like, this doesn't look good, but you didn't care because you got that boom boom in the back.
Yeah. Whatever. And by the way, we've all been there.
And some of us are still there today.
Yeah. I mean, I might be there next week. You don't know. You don't know me, Rob.
I don't know what Nick's gonna do sometimes. He could be going all in and he'd be like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna throw this shit together. I don't care. Although, man, I don't even want to give it away because I want people to see it, but the way you hid one of the features in there, we'll leave that as a cliffhanger, the final cliffhanger. The way you hid one of those little features, and Nick knows what I'm talking about. It's like tucked in there, it's perfect. It goes from old school to like new school with a hit of one button. Chef's kiss. I love when things are hidden like that. A switch, a button, whatever.
Yep, it's so good, man. And I have to tell people that it's there, right? You would never, I mean, many of us would notice it because we're car guys, but if somebody's riding in a passenger seat, they're like, hey, what'd you just click? I'm like, oh, that's the button to get all this stuff to work. And it's like, and they wanted to put it more front center. And I go, why don't you guys put it here? And he's like, oh, I never thought about that. That's way cleaner. I'm like, yeah, there we go. Hey, teamwork makes the dream work.
That's right, my favorite phrase. Look, all right, we got a couple of listener questions. I don't know how many we're going to get to, but I will say I'm going to comment on one real quick. So at the beginning, one of them we started with the EV, the what was it? What was the EV car we were talking about with the old people?
The Lucid.
The Lucid. So it was Lucid. Why are they so fast? We kind of talked about that at the top of the show. With the same listener, Daniel, shout out to him. Nick knows him as well. He was roasting me about my comments on the red and the tan. So the red Ferrari and the tan interior.
Yeah, it's a bad take. Look. Listen, you just got to wear it. You just got to wear it.
It doesn't look as good as other cars. That's what I'm saying. What do you want me to say? Sorry, Daniel, it doesn't look as good. I've seen blue Ferraris that look awesome. I've seen black Ferraris that look awesome. The red is just not at the top for me.
That's a horrible take. It's a horrible. Look, I don't want to keep going over this. It's going to piss me off, Rob.
That's going to be the start of a clip. You're really pissing me off with this take.
But this kind of shows you we all have such different taste. That's why manufacturers really build black, white, and gray cars because they're like, I don't want to listen to Rob and Nick's opinion on our, Laguna Seca blue. I don't want your frickin' opinion, but you wait till you see this color of this new Urus. It's like a baby blue, like a North Carolina blue. Looks sweet. Looks
You
sweet.
gonna have
Looks real
pictures of it?
sweet.
You gonna have some video?
Yeah, yeah.
Pictures of it too?
I'll put it on. Yeah. I just literally came before I got on this podcast. I literally was the first time I saw it.
Did you I mean, you drove it around obviously a little bit.
Yeah. Drove it a little bit. Look, it's. I mean, it looks fucking good. Like
Nice.
it's one of those ones you go, yeah, I'm glad they did this color.
All right. Rob writes in, not me, I swear. I love Top Gear Grand Tour stuff, but the Drive Tribe on YouTube is kinda Hammond's channel. I think you mentioned that. I think it might have been Clarkson's, the farm. I think
The
you were talking
farm.
about last week. It's a little more behind the scenes, cultural based, not as much goofy stuff that goes on, but you can really see the love for the cars in the show. Thanks, guys. Yeah, the Top Gear guys, I don't think I've consumed a lot of their YouTube content. I'm sure it's great. Maybe I'll check out Hammond's channel, but
Yeah,
I think it's great.
they're all so damn talented, man. I mean, we got to
Yeah.
keep saying this. Like, there's a real talent that a lot of these car creators. I mean, it doesn't matter if they had a big show or they've just been doing it on YouTube. Like, make no mistake, Rob and I know how talented. Even if you like them or don't like them, there's a lot of really talented people that deserve credit for that talent. And anybody out of that Top Gear group, let's be clear, they're very talented. It's just a matter of, when we talk about it, that wasn't our influence into cars. And there's a lot of media personalities that was their influence. Like, that's what got them into wanting to be a media personality, which I think is cool too. We just need to make sure that we understand that there's a definitive line between a mechanic who's showing you working on a car and somebody that came into the business through the media door. Neither one's right or wrong. It's just many of you ask us questions like this and we say, hey, look, that's a media personality and they're extremely talented, but they're always going to have a different view than the mechanic shop guy making the content, right? They just came into the business in two different ways. And I think nobody really ever talks about that openly and honestly, that Top Gear influenced a lot of creators that are on YouTube, which is awesome. And those people that are talented about driving a car and talking to the camera and presenting things, like, that's a real freaking talent, man. And we all should respect it. It just, all we really point out is people coming through a couple different doors of the car world.
Yeah, no, for sure. So shout out to that listener. I'll check out Hammond's channel because
I'll check that out too.
All right, one of our favorite topics. Anonymous writes in and says, hey guys, just started seeing your convos pop up on my reels recently. Love the content. If you could possibly maybe help me with this question. Modern day sedan lover, what do I buy in today's day and age? Modern sedans nowadays don't really have a lot of engine to go with it. I'm looking for something at least 300 horsepower or greater, a nice interior. Any recommendations would be greatly appreciated. He didn't give a price or year range, but that's tough. Sedan.
Yeah, I mean, look, a lot
nice
of sedans have over 300 horsepower, though. I mean, you're talking about M3, C63, S6, M5. I mean, those, think about, just S-Class. I mean, it's still one of the best sedans ever built is the S-Class. I don't know. My take is when somebody writes us in an anonymous, I'm obviously reading into your question because we get a lot of them. You're talking about a certain price range that's probably not in the price range of, I think a base Panamera is what, 350 horsepower?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to beat that. I mean, you can go all the way up to what, 550 plus horsepower in the Panamera platform. If not, I mean, I think they may have a Panamera, don't quote me, over 700 horsepower. I mean, you got CT5V. I mean, that's one of the best modern sedans ever built. So I'm guessing if you're talking about a lower price point sedan, you need to really be looking in the heavily used, depreciated market, okay, to get some of these sedans you're talking about. But I'm guessing he's saying he doesn't want to spend the money, but I just listed off the top of my head, I think plenty of sedans out there are over 300 horsepower with nice interiors and, great driving experience. So I wish you would have set a price because I'm guessing what we're talking about is you need to really be looking at the heavily depreciated market. I mean, you go back to a 2015 Panamera Turbo, you're going to get a lot of car because we're going to be well over 300 horsepower. So, I mean, and again, you can go through S-Class and M5 and M3 and all of these different things that you can get depreciated that have tons of horsepower.
Yeah, I think, and I drove our family friend who picked up the Panamera. I drove that Panamera. Very nice, very nice.
Yeah,
I'll
come
tell you
on.
what,
I
though,
mean,
there's one thing that I had forgotten about. This was a feature in the car. You can't just move the vents, the center vents, with your hand. You got to do it from the infotainment.
oh, seriously?
Yes.
Somebody write in? Is Rob? I got to go find a Panamera. Is that for real? I forget.
I
If it
believe.
slipped my mind if that's the case.
So you can move the passenger drivers, you can just move them, but the center one that's in the stack with everything else is all through the screen. I was like,
Hey, the
what?
Porsche, the Germans at Porsche HQ are like, Rob, just leave it alone. We got it. Okay, stop touching it.
If
That's
it would have had like
they're tired of your silliness. They're like, hey, Rob,
no,
we know what we're doing.
they're wrong. They're wrong. All right, they're wrong. All right.
Yeah, you know what? If that's the feature, I definitely forgot about that. That's an error
I
on
did
both
too.
of us.
I did too completely. If it had like facial recognition, which I'm surprised it doesn't, where it just follows your face no matter where you go, like a gimbal, then okay, all right, I'll let it slide. But if I
Facial
gotta slide my
recognition.
finger, that's crazy,
Yeah, that is crazy. Rob's not going to buy a Panamera now because he's gonna be like, those center vents, I'm out.
dude.
Hey, but
You'd be
hey,
surprised.
driving that thing's sweet though, huh?
Oh my God! Just turn it on. I mean, it wasn't the aftermarket upgraded exhaust. It was a stock exhaust for that year Panamera, but it sounded amazing. Like
Yeah,
the neighbor
great.
was like
It's a.
looked over like what the.
I mean, honestly, guys, a heavily depreciated sedan, guys, heavily depreciated Panamera is a real nice experience, and it's a ton of car. You get into a lot of these things that you got to be willing to take the risk. I know that's what everybody's thinking. It's like, well, repair, repair, repair. But for what a lot of guys write in about, you guys don't have an alternative. You know what I mean? You don't have an alternative but to take the risk if you want the experience that you write in about.
I will say, I love that Nick went all Euro. I think with what he suggested, I always go Chevy SS first. If you want a little bit
Yeah, what
more
a
of a
great call. That's a great call.
budget, if you want a little bit budget, that's what I would go. I'm still looking at those, but it's really hard to find a manual one
Yeah.
that's not 70 plus thousand miles, and even
Yeah, but I
then, they're
mean
still going.
CT4 and CT5.
Yeah.
I mean that's. But again, I think if for anonymous that wrote in, I think 110%. I think you're talking about a certain price point. We don't know what that is, but it's usually you can find great sedans still today,
Hmm.
but the price point, is kind of insane. I mean, it's just that it is what it is.
You're gonna touch 50, and even then, you're probably still gonna be higher mileage ish for a lot of these cars. So you gotta you
Yeah, I
gotta
mean, you
give a
need
little and get a little.
like you said. I mean, for a fairly new Panamera, you need to be in the 65 to 85 in the used market. I mean, you need to
Yeah.
be, and when I say fairly new, I mean, anywhere between 4 and or 3 and 6 years old, three
Yep.
and 8 years old. You need to be willing to understand that's going to be the price.
And if you want it or get it or find it in certified pre-owned, you're for sure above 70.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And look, if it puts your mind at ease, instead of buying one at 60, pay the 70. The CPO makes you feel a little better. I mean, that peace of mind's probably worth that 10.
No, agreed, 100%. Okay, so that was for Anonymous. We're going to do one more here. This was a bit of a longer one, but I actually love this as a finisher, and also because I've been thinking about this since you and I started using the term, or you mentioned it months and months ago, cheap mileage. I always think about cheap mileage in a different way. And then about 2 weeks ago, you had a phrase that went pretty viral online as far as what phase are you in of the car buying experience. People really resonated with that because it's so true. Like our phases of interest and our phases of what we can afford obviously change as we get older and we get more
Sure.
experience and more money or whatever. So the listener's question. So Mike essentially is asking what he could buy and not lose his shirt on and hold it for a year. And it was a pretty broad question. But I just want to leave it at that. We might get back to it and read it exactly. But if I were to ask you before I read this question to the listeners, what could be a car that somebody that maybe has a budget of around, whatever, 20 to 50, 20 to 70, can keep a car for 12 months and not lose their shirt on it, and you would want to thoroughly enjoy it for 12 months?
Yeah. I mean, look, you're going to be in Toyota, Honda, Porsche,
Okay.
right? Those are going to be your three brands that consistently across their brand give you 1 year ownership. Then you're going to get into like G-Wagon. You could probably a fully depreciated Panamera, fully depreciated Cayenne, those kinds of things. Look, I mean, we talked about CT5V. You can buy one of those. They're going to hold their value over a year. Yeah, you're going to pay more, but they're going to hold. I mean, you might drive some of those I mean, CT5V, Blackwing, you might still be driving for free after a year. I mean, it just depends on what the market's doing, but you're not going to lose a whole lot. Then if you're talking about sports cars, I mean, you get into something like, ZR1 Corvette. That's gonna hold its value. You know what I mean? It's not gonna. I mean, you're still gonna lose something, but you're gonna lose a ton of money. I mean, usually, especially on the new platform. But if you go ZR1 from the past, you're not gonna. You put a couple thousand miles on that over a year, you're not gonna lose a ton of money like on a C6 or C7 ZR1. Those types of things.
Now let me ask you
you
this.
have those types of things. Yeah.
Some people have a different perspective, or everyone has a different perspective on what losing your shirt means, because I've had these conversations before. How would you put it into perspective for somebody who wants to enjoy a car, they love cars, they're going to spend some money, and they're going into it knowing that if I do sell it in a year, I'll lose some money. But if you were to do your cost analysis of it, where's that threshold where you're like, okay, over this amount, I'm losing my shirt. Under this amount, it's within reason to enjoy the car.
That's a good question. You start talking about losing 15+%, 20+%, you're losing a lot of money, especially because most of the time we're talking about buying a used car, right? You're losing a lot of money. Usually what you're buying is like S-Class, something that is just going to keep going down with every mile. But I think a way to look at it, and I'm not sure that I'm right on this, it'd just be my gut feeling. Let's say the average car payment is creeping to $1,000 a month. Okay.
It is.
So I'm $12,000 into it a year. If I buy a car and I drive that around for $4,000 in loss for the year, I think I'm doing pretty well. It's pretty cheap mileage. Now, we can go even further than that, guys. I'm just trying to give us like what would be I just drove that car around for a third of what the average person's buying a new, Tundra or a new Silverado or whatever. And I just got to drive a fun car, and I paid, a couple $100 a month in depreciation out of the car. And a lot of times people asking these questions, I think, are talking about paying cash for something that's fully depreciated and then getting back out of it, in a year. That's usually why these questions come up is, hey, I mean, that's how I did things and that's how I've done things. It's like, hey, if I dump 50 grand cash into this car, can I drive it for a year and sell it for 46? In today's world, that's pretty cheap mileage, right? All things considered, because I would have been $12,000 and I just paid $4,000. But real cheap mileage is, can I drive it around and get out damn near break even, right? I mean, as close to break even as you can get is exactly the answer to the question. But giving guys a baseline, going off current market pricing, paying a third of what the average car payment may be is pretty damn cheap mileage in today's world.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and read Mike's question because it is really interesting. It's a fun little dilemma. So I work from home, don't put a ton of miles on the car. I own or anything that he owns, but recently felt the need to get something slightly more practical so he can just get in it and go. Right now, he has a Mint 02 7.3 diesel F350 crew cab short bed. Let's go. That thing is beautiful.
Hey, your boy just has it parked.
Oh, dude, love it. He's just taking pictures of it every other day, but he's got an Instagram dedicated to that truck. I bet you he does. Mike, and if you don't, you should. You should. He has an 02 E46 M3 in Laguna Seca blue over cinnamon. Now that combination, Daniel and
I don't. No, it's not an 02. You better not. He's got an E46 M3, right? What year would it be?
He said 02.
No, I don't think so. Is it?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Say something to make you take some arrows this week, all right? I'm tired of stupid Lexus.
Hold on, I could be wrong. Oh, yeah, I am wrong. I apologize. Guys. I apologize. I was thinking something else.
Laguna Seca blue,
yeah.
By the way, one of the best colors. Can we agree? One of the best BMW colors?
Yes. No question. No question.
Having said all that, my definition of practical still isn't what most would consider practical. I need to find something under 60, ideally an SUV that can just get in and drive anywhere, but still be enthusiast value. Not too concerned with maintenance. That's a risk I'm willing to take. That's the attitude to have because you're probably going to have some maintenance along the way. Where am I?
And by the way, thank you for including that in the comment. Thank you for including that in your email.
Yes. What are my best options, assuming 1 year of ownership? I'll put less than 10,000 miles on it. Cool factor, something that I'll feel good and won't depreciate off of a cliff. Lastly, he's all over the board. 15 G63s, manual Cayennes, LX470s. So the question for the pod is, if you were to, in my shoes, playing this game, what on this list would you, on this list, and why don't more car guys without access to endless funds approach the market in this way? It's a really good question. P.S. I've owned an E63 wagon. Otherwise, that would be on the Knicks,
Yeah,
which we
buddy.
love those, dude. Also, Nick, buy the Gen 1 Raptor. You won't regret it. I take it he's owned one.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's owned a wagon, but what if you try to find what we all know, the ultimate Cadillac wagon?
Yeah.
Go try to find one in manual at 60.
Yeah.
But in his question, dude, manual Cayenne would be sick. That would be sick to own. Like that would be sick to own. But if you haven't had the G Wagon experience, that's worth having, right? That's worth having. That's probably the answer on his list, because it sounds like you've had things very near the Cayenne experience, like things near that type of vehicle. If you haven't had the vertical windshield, G-Wagon, old school Defender experience, that type of thing, I would probably push you towards that, just because, I don't know, it'd be hella fun, and G-Wagons do hold their value. I mean, it kind of meets exactly what you want. But manual Cayenne on his list, that would be kind of sweet, because you don't come across those very often. So, but I if you're a wagon guy, why don't you just go get that American Muscle, wagon that it's the unicorn, right? I mean, that's one of those unicorn vehicles. I know they come up for sale quite a bit, but I think hold out to try to find a manual of those. Look, they go high price sometimes, but it seems like you're okay with a little higher mileage. So wait for a higher mileage one of those. But on his list, if you have not had the G-Wagon experience, have the G-Wagon experience for a year. That would be my answer.
Okay. I'm going to follow up with my own scenario here as I'm reading the email. If we were to take those three, and we're in 2025, for the next 3 years, let's say he wanted to experience all three of them. How would you rate them in order of what's going to lose the least amount today? I would say LX probably, right? Or the Cayenne, but you tell me. So if you look at the three, manual Cayenne, LX470, or the 15 G63, if you're 12 months at a time, where are you going to lose the least? So where you hop into the next one and you're going to lose the least, and then hop into the last one and lose the least?
Probably Cayenne, G-Wagon, and LX. LX, because you talk about two vehicles that once they're fully depreciated, and the Porsche and the G-Wagon, they don't really fall. And he's talking about putting no mileage on them, right?
Right.
The LX, I mean, you're splitting hairs here, so let me be clear. I mean, all of these are going to be pretty safe bets. But if you already have a truck, then getting the LX470 doesn't really give you a very different experience from a truck. I mean, it is a trucky experience. And I know people are going to say, well, the G-Wagon's pretty trucky, but the difference is it's a different kind of truck. That's a kind of unique experience, which is why I brought it up. I think the Cayenne would be I just want to drive a manual Cayenne for a year.
I think Nick just wants the manual Cayenne.
Yeah, it's don't you just want to mess around with that thing for a year? It's like,
you're right.
I mean, you're driving an SUV, fairly modern, with a fairly modern gearbox, and it's manual. You're going, yeah, I might want to try this. But I think on his list and the things, if you haven't had the G-Wagon experience, it seems like you've had a lot of experiences. The G-Wagon experience is pretty unique.
Yeah. All right. That was a great answer to the question. Great little game there for all of his scenarios. And I feel like he's going to end up sending a picture of a manual Cayenne in the next couple of months.
I love it. That'd be sweet.
Good luck to you, Mike. Good luck to you. All right. As we land the plane here, today, when this drops, let's go all watch the Ford announcement. If it isn't a Model T moment, we have to roast Ford on the next episode, obviously, which they probably won't be. Nick's going to be working on some Maybach. Do you say Maybach or Maybach?
Maybach.
Okay, Maybach wheels. We're also going to be doing the LX audio video shortly after that video drops. So a lot of things happening on the Hyperclean Store YouTube channel. We're at Clutch Culture Podcast everywhere across the internet. And if you want to send in your questions, clutchculturepodcast@gmail.com. Nick, that is all I got for you, sir.
I think we're at Clutch Culture Pod. Clutch Culture Pod. I don't think it's pod. Look, Rob might have stayed out late last night. I don't know what's going on over there.
I said it's clutchculturepodcast@gmail.com.
No, I'm saying, but you said you said we're everywhere at Clutch Culture Podcast. I think it's Clutch Culture Pod on social media handles.
You're right.
Don't question me. Don't
You know where I
question
stayed
me.
out late? I stayed late out at Meet the Teacher night because school starts next week. So I'm a little on edge with the
I'm a little,
school
I'm a
starting
little,
and the whole
I'm a
thing.
little fried.
Yeah.
All right,
All
guys.
right,
We'll
guys.
talk
We'll
to you
see you
next
guys
week.
next week.
See you.